story. Greetings, ladies and metal gents, and welcome to this latest edition of RE109, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called The Quadriseasonal Equation, written by Dathouen. The first contact was fairly routine. We watched as their nuclear-powered spatial wakeship puttered to the edge of our territorial space before we headed out. It took them 6 Earth years, and from what we could tell of their loud, omnidirectional broadcasts, it was going to take them another 4 years to reach their destination. It took us 6 seconds to cover that same space they did, the distance from our nearest federal outpost with a diplomatic envoy. We hailed them, they did the usual, bombarded us with packages of data showing off their accomplishments and such. There was nothing special, some basic ethereal space theory, string theory, as some theoretical mathematics, holographic renderings and sculptures and paintings. There was also a fair bit of their history and anatomy. More of the same. Nearly every species does this. Don't get me wrong, it's always a good sign. But I'd already facilitated the statehood of a dozen other worlds by this point in my lifetime. Honestly, I would have preferred the hostile species to another friendly one. I sent out the standard greeting, offering to ferry them back to their homeworld with our diplomatic envoy. They requested that we take them to their destination first. Well, at least that's different. I obliged them. They spent 7 cycles gathering data on the solar system, dropped a few probes, and agreed to be brought home. We were back on their homeworld, Earth, within 10 seconds. The whole time, I hadn't noticed that there was one hitch. As they returned to their homeworld with the news, we waited politely outside of their Ort cloud. That's when I saw the notification, 12 of them in fact, of a data packet. 12 files could not be identified and were quarantined. They attempted to simulate the files, but as far as we could tell, they did nothing. Every decryption algorithm we ran returned nothing. Suddenly, they were not so boring. Someone finally realized what they were, some kind of mathematical equations, but very abstract and complex beyond anything we've ever seen before. Could these dumb apes really be capable of mathematics that even we couldn't comprehend? We couldn't let the federal community know of this, so we quickly put our best mathematicians on the case, solving these equations. In the meantime, I had to stall. Luckily, they worked slow, inundated by bureaucracy. I received the same welcome data packet 2 more times from 2 separate points, a region called China and another called North America. Good, they're disorganized and unprepared. That'll buy us a lot of time. The homeworld had been working on what we were now calling the Human Mathematical Challenge. Nobody could figure it out. Even the Federation's top grid computers couldn't identify the pattern. Only that there was some kind of wild, far-reaching pattern there. I opened one up to see what it was, and it completely boggled my mind. It was like a 7th-degree polynomial made up by recursive synomial algorithms wrapped in several nested sets of logic algorithms wrapped in a quadrilateral trigonomic proof. I didn't even bother trying to comprehend it further. It was far too beyond my intellect. I was never that good at math anyway. That's why I went into diplomacy. But surely our mathematicians would figure it out. It was a full half-revolution before we received a cohesive response from Earth, this time from a place called Switzerland. "Greetings from the President of the United Nations of Earth," said the human over the primitive bandwidth. "Greetings, President of Earth," I responded, trying hard not to sound flustered. "I am Envoy Kaliskis of the Galactic Federal Government, here to extend an appendage of peace in the hopes of establishing friendly and prosperous diplomatic relations." Good thing I've said that phrase at least 1,000,000 times, so it was easy to sound sincere. These humans had put me on guard. Whatever these algorithms are, I can't help but feel like these apes are far more than meets the eye. I cannot let myself be caught off guard by whatever they're hiding from us. "Fantastic! Please enter orbit around our planet and come to the surface. We have prepared a diplomatic reception so that we might offer you hospitality while we discuss our future relations with your, Federation." Galactic Federal Government, actually, I corrected pleasantly. That would be lovely. I'll be there in just a moment. I brought the ship into their orbit and moved to the shuttle bay, making sure to have my people load up the usual gift package. My first officer and several other diplomats were with me, all murmuring about one thing: the human mathematical challenge. We received landing coordinates and launched immediately. All the while, theories were flying around the chamber. Some thought that it was gibberish, a distraction to make us weak so they could attack us while our attention was elsewhere. Others believed them to be some kind of species of idiot savants with immense theoretical capabilities but severely diminished practical aptitude. One even suggested they might be the progenitors. Everyone laughed at that. If they were the progenitors, they would certainly not be wallowing in their own filth and pollution on some backwater planet. As we finally landed, we moved out of the shuttle and were greeted by hundreds of humans, smashing their appendages together. The wall of sound was disconcerting, but when they noticed our discomfort, they immediately stopped. That aside, the planet was dismal. The air was dry and hot, the ground rough and dirty, the gravity far too high. Several in our delegation were having trouble keeping their heads upright. Then there was the humans, small, weirdly covered in some kind of smelly wires. It was difficult to look at them. One of them extended an appendage, and I remembered the traditional greeting from the package being a gripping of appendages. The human gripped my pod and squeezed it firmly, shaking it several times while humans took photographs. It was baring its teeth at the photographers, so I bore my baleen at them. The whole situation was completely disorienting. By far the worst planet I've ever been to. As we moved along, the president introduced me to a number of other diplomats and individuals of import. Meanwhile, my cranial implant showed me that nobody could solve it, that we had exhausted all of our resources. Then even called in other specialists, from chemists to engineers, biologists to architects, physicists, and even poets. Nobody could even remotely comprehend it. We had failed the challenge. I noticed the faces of all of my colleagues as they too received the news from their personal networks. We could not hide the fact that we were somewhat demoralized. As the proceedings continued, the president even began to notice the change in our demeanor. "Is there something wrong, Envoyer Kurliskus?" I waved a pod at him nonchalantly. "Oh, it's just the gravity is a bit." It was then that my science officer spoke up from behind me. "What is the solution to the challenge? What does 416F6E746F6E696F2054686520466F7572225661736F6E73 mean? We cannot." I silenced him with a sharp glance, not wanting to show the weakness before the humans. The president was, however, baffled. I'm not sure what 416 what was it? I could not contain myself. "Even you cannot comprehend that number." "There is nothing by the name of 416E7, whatever that name is," the president responded, still confused. "But it was your data packet, the one your scientists aboard the vessel gave us, and your people sent us upon arrival in your system." My frustrations were starting to bubble to the surface. Was this a game? Were they merely pretending to prolong the suffering? "That file, please, you must tell us what it means." It was then that the aide realized what was going on and pulled up a holographic display in its appendage. "Excuse me, Madam President, but Envoy Kurliskus, could you repeat that file name for me slowly?" I was seething, but I obliged, ever the diplomat. 416E74696F205696C616C46920D20546866. 52046 F7520536561736F6E73. The whole time it was typing into its holographic keypad. Upon completion, its face lit up, and he whispered something into the president's ear. A look of realization dawned on the president's face. Apparently, we did not even interpret the name correctly. I was calming, my frustration replaced by excitement at the prospect of them finally explaining the human mathematical challenge to us. I could feel my colleagues bristling with equal, if not greater, excitement. "Oh, I see. Just a moment." The president held up a single flange from his appendage and opened its own holographic display. After fiddling with some kind of console, the president finally looked up. "I suppose I can see how one might mistake this particular file for a mathematical equation of sorts, but it's something else. It's actually my favorite piece. It's called The Four Seasons by Antonio Vivaldi, one of our planet's most renowned composers." I could no longer contain myself. A composer of what?" The president smiled again, this time baring no teeth. The president said nothing. It only tapped a holographic button, and something happened. All throughout the greeting area, noise assaulted our senses. I could barely identify one of them, but there were several of them. Grating threads creating harmonic vibrations, with the tones shifting up and down. It was more than I could handle. Then it clicked. I could hear the 7 synodial algorithms as the sounds shifted. They changed over and over, each forming one smaller set algorithm within the set algorithm. I had never seen anyone do anything like this with sound before. I could feel the mathematics. It was so beautiful. Tears began to flow from my nostrils. I couldn't control myself. I was overwhelmed with emotion and began to sob openly. "What is it?" I gasped. "Music." End of story. I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Bushmaster 177, Henry the Red, Caspar Arnholtz, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Elijah Silvercross, Dragzoon WRE, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.